Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. It's nice to be back. I haven't made a video in weeks. And I'll tell you why. I have a lot of catching up to do today, so this might be a long one, but I thought I would just chat and let you know what I've been doing, what I've been reading, what I've been writing, because that's kind of why I've been missing in action for a while. Yesterday, I just finished my latest novel, meaning I finished the first draft, I typed the end yesterday, and I posted it on Wattpad because I already did the entry and everything. Everything's done, which is such a relief. But I am entering this story, which is called Final Dress. Here's the lovely cover, in the latest Waddy Awards competition. Now, I won the Waddy a few years ago with my book Code Red, but I thought, why not try again? Because I needed a little push to finish it. I think I started writing it at the end of May, if I'm not mistaken. And I was like, well, I'll do it throughout the summer. I'll take my time. I'll have it finished in the fall. That was the plan. But then probably like a month ago, I noticed that the Waddies were coming up and I thought, oh gee, I should just do it. But I really pushed myself on this project. In fact, at the end of the video, I'm going to tag on my latest vlog from Patreon, which the last couple of videos I did on Patreon were all about trying to meet this deadline. And I actually pushed myself to do a 6-hour writing shift. I did that. I got through and I actually got a lot done. So I've been doing like 6-hour shifts for the past couple days to finish the book. Now, I have until actually, I think August 6th to enter, but I wanted to get it out of the way before the month of August started because I have other things going on. So it's done. It's a draft. I'm not saying it's perfect. In fact, when I hit that send, I'm like, oh, I wish I had another month to really give this a good second draft. Anyway, so that's what I've been doing on my summer vacation. I also was sick for 2 weeks with a really horrible summer cold. I haven't gotten one of those in a while. I mean, it was one of those like bronchitis, almost pneumonia type of sickness where I could not do anything. I couldn't write, but I could read. And I read a lot of books, and I'll get to those in a minute. But before we get there, a couple announcements. I have a package from Patrick that I'm going to open. And today, August 1st, is the day the Garbology comes out, put together by Criminali and other editors, and it has a lot of stories from people you know, including me. So I'm really excited to read it and check out all the wonderful garbage reads. So this is Garb August, and I'll be doing some garbage related books probably for this month too, because let's face it, I read a lot of trash. Oh my God, my mother would kill me if she could see me doing this. It's a lovely hummingbird card from Patrick. I love hummingbirds. When I used to visit my sister when she lived in Santa Barbara, she had a plant in her garden, like maybe it's called a hummingbird bush, I don't know, but there were always hummingbirds around and they look like giant bees or something. They're incredible. Oh, this is lovely. In every walk with nature, one receives more than he seeks. Muir. Well, that's true. Oh, wow. I got a very nice card. I'm going to take a minute to read this. Dear Regina, this package isn't filled with Gothic goodies, sadly, but with goodies nonetheless. In honor of several July events, holidays I sent along. And then he has listed the different books, which I'm just going to, but he describes them. So I'm going to save this for later. Thank you so much. And let's see what we have. The Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. I know there is an amazing TV show based on this, and I haven't seen it, but now that I have the book, I should do both. I've been meaning to watch it, but I didn't realize it was a book. It's not too long either. Maybe this is not a garbage book, but it could be a great late summer book. Oh, here we go. Ragtime by E.L. Doctorow. I've never read this book, but I worked on the costumes when my theater did a production of Ragtime, and I really loved the story and working on the show. It was amazing. Okay, it's classic. You know, I've never read this. And Patrick, you know what makes me smile. This is Diana, her true story in her own words by Andrew Morton. A bit of a controversial book, I believe. I love reading all about the royals and about Diana. Oh, this is going to be fun. So thank you so much, Patrick. I love all these books that you send, and I'm going to dig into at least some of these for the month of August because I have been reading a lot. I really feel like I'm back on the reading train, and I'm going to go over now what I've read since we last spoke. I also wanted to mention that my friend James and I have been keeping up with our podcast, The Right Brain Cafe, and I will list the latest one below. We've been having fun with that. So these are the books that I've read since we last spoke. This was great. When the Night Comes Falling, A Requiem for the Idaho Student Murders by Howard Blum. This one came out just recently. I believe I pre-ordered no, I didn't. I got the audiobook. I read the audiobook or listened to the audiobook, and it was a great listen. My only complaint that it wasn't long enough. It was like maybe 6 hours, but I listened to it an entire day when I did housework. Such good writing. It reminded me of Truman Capote or Norman Mailer. Like it was on that level. I don't think I'm giving any spoilers by saying that the author goes in with the assumption, and it's his theory, that the man who was arrested and charged with the crime, Brian Kohlberger, is guilty. He is assuming he's guilty based on what he uncovers in his narrative, based on facts, but then he kind of takes it to the next level, meaning like he's assuming some things about this guy that maybe hasn't been on the record, if that makes sense. But it all makes sense in the story that he's telling. Now, you have to go into kind of knowing that. So, yeah, it was great. The writing was top-notch. I highly recommend it. I also finished the Wildflower series by V.C. Andrews. It was a 5-book series, kind of the same format as the Orphan series, where each girl tells a story. It's like a troubled teen. Each one tells their personal story, and then they come together for a larger novel where all their lives are entwined in some drama. I actually really enjoyed this one. Orphans, I thought, was okay. It wasn't great, but it was okay. It was entertaining. This one actually kind of had me going for a while. It's a little over the top, but this is what I love about the V.C. Andrews brand. I know she didn't write it. And speaking of V.C. Andrews, I went to my local library and picked up a couple library books of newer V.C. Andrews books, and I was in heaven. I read Becoming My Sister, a standalone novel, and Batilda and I buddy read this one. This one, all right, it wasn't great. It was not great. It was kind of fun, but it's all about, one sister assuming the identity of another, which, I love twin stories. I love sister stories, but it didn't quite have enough going on in the story, and it wasn't meaty enough. So that one wasn't so great, but I did really enjoy 2 new additions to the Dollenganger series. And I read both, and I bought the next one because I really want to know what happens. And that is Beneath the Attic and Out of the Attic by V.C. Andrews. These came out recently. This goes back all the way to the first Corinne, not Corinne Foxworth, but her grandmother, Corinne Dixon, who marries Garland Foxworth. And that's when we're first introduced to Foxworth Hall, and they are married. She's very young, and he is dastardly in many ways, as you can imagine. And, it's very gothic. She's kind of trapped in this world, in this gothic mansion. And then the second book, Out of the Attic, continues the story. She has her son, Malcolm, and there's all kinds of stuff about the Swan Room, and we learn a lot of the origin story. And I really enjoyed it. I went on the Goodreads, and people complain so much. People get very passionate about Flowers in the Attic, the series. I mean, I have a whole playlist on my channel for V.C. Andrews stuff, and they're my most popular videos, but sometimes people leave me, I wouldn't say nasty comments, but they get very upset if I get something wrong in the family line, and I often get things wrong because this is a very convoluted story, and a lot of characters have the same name, so it gets confusing. And I'm not an encyclopedia when I read. I just read for enjoyment. That's it. So, I'm not an expert on V.C. Andrews, but I just like to read it. In case you were wondering, getting a little defensive there, but you should read some of the comments I get sometime. I'm like, okay, calm down. Okay, so what else? I read, and I DNF'd this book. I'm sorry, Sarah. This was Her Heart for a Compass by Sarah Ferguson, Duchess of York, with a ghostwriter whose name I forget. It wasn't a bad book, it was just a long book, and I took it out of the library and I knew that I couldn't finish it in the time that it was due back because of everything else I had to do, so I may check it out again. It's kind of about like a runaway bride in a Victorian society, so the hook was really good, but then, I don't know, I lost a little bit of interest, but I may check that one out again. It had potential. And then the other one won Stoker Award 2 years ago. It's when I was there. I actually was there when he won. His name is Gabino Iglesias, and the book is The Devil Takes You Home. It won, I think, for Best Novel. I remember his speech was, very impassioned. It wasn't a bad book. It just wasn't my type of book. I'm not sure why this was considered a horror book. It has some supernatural elements, I guess, but it's more like a crime novel, like an action heist kind of crime novel that takes place in, I guess it's Southern California or Texas into Mexico, where this guy it's kind of like Breaking Bad, like this average guy, something really bad happens with his family and he's filled with anger and he decides to go into a life of crime to get money and to just, I don't know, work out his frustrations or something. Had a little bit of trouble connecting with the character, but I would say it's a pretty good book if that's like your type of book. It was very violent, and I can only go so far with violence. There's this one scene involving a child that's really brutal, and I just really couldn't get past that scene. Maybe I'm just getting, wimpy in my old age, but certain things I just can't read something that is like too graphic. I just can't. So I put that one away, but I DNF'd it with the acknowledgement that is probably pretty good. And this book I really loved, and that was called Starve Acre by Andrew Michael Hurley. This was a throwback to like 70s style folk horror. It's the perfect book to read in the fall. I think I might reread it. It's short, it's a novella. Definitely recommend this book if you love quiet horror, scary little creepy horror, really sneaks up on you. I might, like I said, reread this again and do a full review on it because I think there's a movie coming out too. So let me know if you read that. And then the last book I read was wonderful. This was a biography of one of my favorite performers, and that's called Leading Lady, a Memoir of a Most Unusual Boy by Charles Busch. Charles Busch is an theatrical actor who is known for doing he doesn't really call them drag performances. It's more like he embodies female roles and he plays them so seriously, and it's such amazing camp. Do yourself a favor, if you ever need a good laugh, watch Die Mommy Die, his film. It is hilarious, and a hilarious take on old Hollywood movies, like Joan Crawford movies, Bette Davis movies. I mean, he's so funny. And I had the opportunity to see him back in the late 80s when his play Lesbian Vampires of Sodom played off Broadway. I saw it twice. It was so funny. He just tickles my funny bone. And I actually got to see him live in Cabaret and speak to him a little bit, and he was very sweet to me, and I'm just a huge fan. So I don't expect a lot of people to know who he is. He's still kind of an underground artist, which makes me love him even more. He's really, really great. And the story was great. It was filled with so many wonderful theatrical backstage stories. And it was also poignant and sad because he lost so many friends during the AIDS crisis in the theater. Like half the cast of his play all died. And I was living in New York at the time, and working in theater, and I had friends who died, and it was horrible. And it kind of reminded me of that time. And it was like he doesn't hold back about everything that happened with his friends and how lucky he was to have escaped that. So yeah, it's a great book, really, really fun. And then I guess I'll just finish up by mentioning a few Giallo films that I watched on Shudder for Giallo July, which our lovely friend Alex, the Bookubist, put together. I didn't really read any Giallo books, I don't think. Maybe the true crime one probably came closest, but I did watch some movies, so these are the ones I watched, and they were all great. And I got Joe to watch some of them with me. He's not a horror fan, but he loves to see beautiful women and style, so he enjoyed it too. I didn't go for the full scary ones, but we watched Blood and Black Lace by Mario Bava, The Bird and the Crystal Plumage by Dario Argento. That's my favorite of the group. Orgasmo, that was fun, by Umberto Lenzi. I think it's Lenzi. My printer kind of smeared the ink here. Starring Carol Baker. Apparently they did a few films together. I've got to see them all because that was really good. And The Strange Vice of Mrs. Ward, with an H, by Sergio Martino. So those were a lot of fun. And that was my July, and now I'm glad August is here because we're 1 month closer to spooky season. I don't know about you, but I'm ready to move on from hot and muggy weather. So let me know in the comments below if you've read any of the books I mentioned today, or have seen any of the films, or anything else that I talked about that you'd like to comment on. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye. Hello, I'm here to show you the day in the life of a writer who's trying to meet a deadline. I am attempting to get as much done on this project today as possible, so I've set the goal to work a full 6 hours. I don't think I've ever worked 6 hours, well maybe on one of my screenplays, but I'm going to try it, see how I do. So you can see I'm trying to get to the 50,000 word limit. I don't think I'll get there today because I'm starting out by doing a lot of editing of some chapters that I need to work on. So that's part of the goal today. So I have, that's a funny picture. This is my Wattpad project that I'm working on. The book is called Final Dress. It's a slasher, kind of a campy slasher story set in a theater. So I only have 150 views, but on Wattpad, if you don't finish the book, you don't get a lot of reviews because people don't like to read stuff that's unfinished. Anyway, there's my trigger warning. I normally don't put trigger warnings, but one of my readers suggested it, so I complied. So yeah, I'm going to try to finish this because I'm trying to enter it into the Waddy contest, which the deadline is next week. But before I do that, I went for a bike ride because this is part of my daily routine. It's probably my favorite part of the day, actually. And if I don't do it, I feel like crap. So here I'm out with my bike. It's a beautiful day. Here's our little community garden. Thought I'd show you. And it's pretty cool this morning, so I was lucky. And I do about a 4-mile ride around my town. Here I am, looking glamorous. And there's the lagoon. All right, I'm back on the job. I'm still in my workout clothes. I'm giving myself 3 hours to do the first shift, if you want to call it that. I've got my dictionary, I've got my coffee, and that's the time. And 3 hours went by fast. Okay, it's almost noon, so yeah, I got a lot accomplished, actually. I edited a bunch of chapters. I only wrote another almost 300 words, but I almost got to the end of my project, and now I'm exhausted, just like these guys. And oh my God, look at Lily. She is so funny. Oh, there she is, still alive. All right, I took a shower. I'm feeling refreshed, and I'm back for round 2. Okay, 3 hours later, I managed to write 2,002 words, and I finished my editing. So that was 6 hours of solid work, and I feel pretty good about it. Hey, I can do it.